A shalom, shalom. Hey, first and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachach Kodash. A double honors to the elder apostles, now the bishops of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim pushing his gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh Bashem Shai. A peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh Bashem Shai, Lord willing, fall upon our houses. Hey, man, so ultimately, I was basically, just doing some watching, man, as we're commanded, man. The Lord Yahweh Shai, as he says in Ezekiel 3:17, man, he sent us, as watchmen, to the house of Israel, man, to basically watch, roughly paraphrasing, man, to watch, pay attention, to what's going on in the world and to filter it through the scriptures, and then to ultimately give that warning, from the Most High to our people, to the Lord's people, man, to the Israelites, man, and really ultimately, we're speaking to the whole world, because again, you have Israelites that look like, the other nations, man, that are scattered into these other nations, look like the other nations, but yet and still to the lineage of their father, they're Israelites, man, so we don't know who they may be, so we're ultimately speaking to the whole world, giving out that warning to the whole world, man, but I seen this article. It says the U.S. should pay France for loss of Russian gas. It says Le Pen, right? And this article is really not that long. I got two articles, Lord will we can get to, but I'm going to read this one. It says the presidential candidate says cost will soar if the U.S. if the EU bans Russian energy. The U.S. should compensate France for losses if the EU bans Russian energy carriers. French presidential candidate Marine Le Pen said in an interview with BFM TV, right? So ultimately, he's letting it be known that France, runs off of, or a large portion of France runs off of the Russian energy source, right? The Russian gas, right? And saying that ultimately their economy would be hit hard if they were to ban, Russian gas, right? Which ultimately we saw, before, Biden had put sanctions on Russia. And even Germany was saying that, a large portion of their economy runs on that Russian gas, right? And so they would ultimately be hit hard if that was to happen. Well, now Russia, now France is coming out basically saying the same thing, It says right here, keep going. It says the Americans who will sell us liquefied gas and get a solid profit from it could transfer money to France as compensation for anti-Russia sanctions, right? So ultimately they're saying, hey, you gotta split that profit, man. You gotta split that profit. If we're gonna get in bed with each other and we're gonna do the same thing, hey, well, guess what? You gotta split that profit with us, man. It says Le Pen said, noting that Washington is pressuring the EU to sanction Russian energy carriers. The bloc placed multiple sanctions on Russia after Moscow launched a military operation in neighboring Ukraine. The operation has been widely criticized by many Western nations, but perhaps none have been more outspoken than the U.S. According to Le Pen, if Washington succeeds in stopping Russian gas imports to the EU, it will result in unbearably high fuel bills for the French. It says, however, she believes that American fuel magnates care little. American fuel magnates, or however you say that word, care little about ordinary French people and their plight, and are only interested in business, eager to profit from the increase in LNG exports to the bloc, right, man? So hey, ultimately the information is coming out that America doesn't even care about its own allies, nor its allies' peoples, man. Information's coming out, man. It says, while the European Union has placed numerous sanctions on Russia over the past few weeks, member states have so far been unable to reach an agreement on banning Russian energy imports. Many EU countries are heavily dependent on Russian energy, while some have no alternative, being landlocked and therefore unable to receive liquefied gas from the U.S., for instance. However, discussions on the issue will continue. High representatives of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Joseph Borrell, said on Monday, Moscow currently supplies around 40% of the gas used by EU nations and around a third of their oil. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak recently estimated that it would take the EU 5 to 10 years to completely replace Russian oil and gas, noting that the embargo would inevitably result in record prices. Right, man. And so that it's coming out, that a lot of these European nations, cannot continue to thrive, or their economy cannot continue to survive the way it is surviving without that Russian, the Russian imports, man. Oil, and many other things, wheat, so on and so forth, man. Was it top three? Russia and Ukraine are, the top three. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Top three exporters of, wheat and so on and so forth, as well as oil, around that area, So a lot of European countries literally need Russia to continue to, for their economy to continue, and ultimately, with America continue to go against Russia, continue to, basically try to force a lot of these European countries to deny receiving any or importing any goods from Russia, as well as any of their energy supplies, such as oil, gas, whatever it may be, a lot of those nations are ultimately going to, say, fuck it, man, because Russia's saying, all you nations, matter of fact, let's grab the next article, man, because a lot of the nations that are ultimately on America's side, Russia is considering them hostile nations, man, and even without this sanction, on Russia, Russia is still saying, hey, you nations that are with America, that are siding with America, hey, you're a hostile nation, and majority of the world as of this time, which is decreasing, but a lot of people are they're still attached to the dollar, which again, is starting to deplete. The value of the dollar is starting to deplete. And ultimately, a lot of these nations are starting to drop the dollar. But again, there still are nations that use the dollar. And Russia, was one of those nations. But now, Russia's saying, no, we don't want the dollar. We don't want the dollar. Anything that you buy from us has to be bought in our currency, man, the ruble, man. It says more countries, right here, the article, it says more countries agreed to ruble payments for gas. Russian deputy PM says Moscow is awaiting decision from other importers. Alexander Novak says the several buyers of Russian natural gas have agreed to switch to payments in rubles, right? So again, they're dropping the American dollar, right? Which again is leading to, a further depletion of, the value of that American currency, right? It says Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak said on Friday, it says we expect the decision to switch to rubles from other importers. Novak added in comments published in the Ministry's magazine, without disclosing the identities of the customers who have already switched. Right? Hey, so France could have already switched. Hey, Germany could have already switched. Right? Spain could have already switched. Hey, many of these other European countries, Italy, could have already switched over. Man, they see that America is bullshitting. Because America is still sending, military aid to Ukraine. You got a lot of European countries, buying the F-35, jet from America and basically arming up. And you still got a lot of these countries, still sending their older, military equipment over to Ukraine and helping Ukraine, So you got that happening as well, man. Hey, well, guess what, man? A lot of these countries, just as they're gearing up, military wise, a lot of these countries still have to worry about their economy, man, because if their economy completely crashes before that time, well, guess what, man? They're not going to be able, to defend themselves or anything like that, man, So they basically have to balance out, their basically acquiring, that military power while worrying about their economy at the same time, man, And again, a lot of these nations are looking at America because America's, still trying to, fight that war, with Russia, when Russia's, not trying to have it, America is the one that's continue to basically, push the button, man, and a lot of these nations are seeing that, so a lot of these nations are ultimately going to turn on America, man, It says the deputy PM noted that the EU countries would likely not be able to completely replace Russian energy in the next 5 to 10 years, right? We read that in the last article, right? It says it is impossible to talk about guaranteeing European energy security without Russian resources, he said, right? So Russia is a huge part of the European, basically energy supply, man. You know, they supply majority of it, man. I think we read, it was like what 40%. Of the European energy supply comes from Russia. It says Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday that some Western countries are failing to pay on time for deliveries of Russian energy. Last month, Putin signed a decree that requires a new payment procedure for Russian gas starting on April 1st. For buyers from hostile nations, the measure concerns countries that have imposed sanctions on Russia and have frozen its foreign reserves, right, man? So again, these hostile countries are those that are, part of the that are in the European Union that are basically siding with America, man. And for them to ultimately continue to, to buy from, Russia or anything like that, hey, guess what, man? They have to basically, step away from America, man. It says right here, it says Russia has introduced buyers, Russia has instructed buyers operating in countries designated as unfriendly to open 2 accounts in Russia's Gazprom Bank, one in euros and one in rubles. Payments for gas would go into the euro account, after which the bank would exchange it into rubles. State-owned Gazprom would consider payments complete once the rubles arrive, and who knows how long that could take, man. It says Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter, however you say that, said this week the country is ready to pay for Russian gas in accordance with the proposed scheme, right? So nations are ultimately getting on board with it, man. It says added, whatever his last name, added that his country does not believe this violates the EU sanction regime. On Friday, Armenia's economy minister Vahan Karabayan told Russian media outlet that Yerevan has made several payments for natural gas and rubles, right? So again, a lot of these nations are getting on board with, with Russia, man. Turning against America and banding up with Russia, man. And we're gonna start to see it a lot more, man. We're gonna start seeing those tensions between America and America's allies, start to grow, man. Because again, they're turning against America. America's power, and America's influence over the nations is waning, man. Right, so I got, just a few precepts, man. It says Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 6. It says, shall not these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, saying, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, right? And that thick clay goes into, ultimately that extreme debt that America's in, man. It says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Right, man. So again, these nations are gonna rise up against America, man. For the bullshit that America is causing, man. America's causing many problems, man. And again, these allies of America are seeing this, and they're saying, nah, man. We're done. We're done dealing with you, man. We're gonna go with Russia. Right. Another precept. To that, basically Revelations, the 17th chapter, the 16th verse, it says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, right? The 10 horns ultimately goes into, NATO and the EU, man. It says, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, right, man? Because again, these nations are going to, come up against America, man, And what are they going to do? They're going to band with Russia because, Russia, as well as many other nations that are against America or starting to, and have been really for, a cool minute now, building up their nuclear arsenal, man. They're building up that nuclear arsenal, man, coming up against America, man. Coming up against America, And again, the main nation that's going to come up against America, is going to be Russia, man. As we're seeing right now, right? let's go to this. I got just a couple more precepts, man. Jeremiah 50, I think it's verse 9. It says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations," right? So ultimately, that assembly of great nations, it says right here, it says, an assembly of great nations from the north country, right? The north country is going into Russia, but it's also going into Russia and Russia's allies, which you can read in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. I think it's the 5th verse. It talks about Persia, Libya, Ethiopia, which goes into Iran and other countries as well. And then you gotta also think that these other nations, besides Russia's allies, are going to be what? America's allies, man. And they're going to come up against America because of, what America's doing. America, Russia and these other countries, man, they don't want a nuclear war. But America keeps pushing that button, man, because America sees its power waning, and he's ultimately trying to reassert himself, into that power, man, trying to get that power back. But again, America's doing it in a wrongful way, man. America's trying to ultimately start a war that America's going to lose, man, according to the scriptures, man. It's not going to be a good look for America, man. It's not a good look right now, Fuck it. It says right here, it says, "And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence from thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be of a mighty excrement, and none shall return in vain." Right. So it's going into those ICBM nuclear missiles, man. That's how America ultimately is going to burn, be burnt with fire, man. It's those ICBM nuclear missiles, man. And these nations, man, they're not playing, man. These nations are ultimately fed up, with what America is doing, man. And it's going to come to a time where, ultimately these nations are going to say, fuck it, we're just going to hit that red button and get rid of America, man. Because there was an article not too long ago that Russia stated that, they're basically seeking to, rid rid the world of a U.S. dominated era, man. So they're seeking to take America out of power, So anybody that sides with Russia, you're ultimately going to have to accept, what Russia is going to do to America, man. Whether you were once American ally or not, But nonetheless, this is what's coming, man. And again, we're warning the world, of what's coming. And ultimately this is prophecy, man. For those that are in the right spirit, you're gonna be, you're gonna be occupied in prophecy, man. So this is what's coming, man. Let me grab this. Habakkuk 2 and 3. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry." Right, man. And we're in the time of that vision, man. We're in the time of World War III, man. Revelations 11 and 14, man. Behold, behold, two woes have passed, and the third woe cometh quickly, man. Roughly paraphrasing that, man. Hey, so that third war is coming, man. It's right around the corner, man. So hey, open your eyes, man. Pay attention what's going on, man. Especially for those that are there in the faith, man. Hey, you need to watch ye therefore and pray always, man. Watch ye therefore and pray always, man. That you may be accounted worthy to escape all those things that shall come to pass, man. Because this is a heavy time, man. It's gonna be a very gruesome destruction that's gonna come to America, man. And you would want to, it would behoove you to want to, do anything and everything that you can within righteousness according to the scriptures to to be delivered from that time, man. You got a lot of Christians out here saying that they're saved, but they're not saved, man. Those people are ultimately going to be led to that destruction, man. And so you got to make your calling of election sure, man. Get in this truth, man. Which obviously we know it's, the Lord Yahweh Shem El Shah that will bring you to the truth. But if the Lord Yahweh Shem El Shah has brought you to any of the, the prophets' videos, then, take heed to what they're saying, man. Don't be prideful, take heed to what's being said to you, and prepare, man, and you prepare by getting into scriptures, man, laying up that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, man, laying up your treasures in heaven, man, Hey, so get into it, man. We're in that time, man. So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Kodash, a double honors to the elder apostles, elder bishops, a great millstone. I want to say shalom until next time.